Happy Friday, everybody. It's Jim, it's Amedeus, and we are a little bit more than 9 days out from Super Bowl. And just so you know, it hasn't changed. The Chiefs are still going to play the 49ers, and it's going to be a fun time, Amadeus. We're going to talk a little bit about the week before the Super Bowl, as that'll come up on Monday. What are some of the things going on before we get into that? Um, are you looking at for the weekend that is not related to football?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on with basketball. Tomorrow looks like a very good college basketball card. Obviously, Saturdays are always large, but
Hmm.
should be definitely exciting. Obviously there's no football this weekend, so and there's no NHL either with the All-Star break. So
Right.
it's gonna be a lot of NBA college basketball, and I'm also looking at the pitch as always. The Premier League just ran. Uh, During the week this week they had games yesterday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, so going to be looking at some of the AFCON that's going on right now. Just watched the Nigeria match. Nigeria advanced over Angola 1-0, and there's another match coming up at 3 o'clock. So yeah, if I'm being honest, I think Nigeria is probably the best team in that uh, tournament
In that
right
group.
now with Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire. No, in the entire tournament. So Senegal and Senegal and Morocco were both eliminated in the round of 16, and they were the two best teams in Africa. So
Yeah.
with them out of the competition, it's really opened up now. I believe I'm going to check quickly here, but I believe the favorite is probably the host nation.
Hmm.
I would think. I don't think I can check the futures on that right now, just because there's another game today and it's an
Hmm.
ongoing round. But yeah, I think Cote d'Ivoire is most likely going to be the favorite because they're the host nation. But out of all the teams left, I think Nigeria is the best team left in the competition.
Oh, there you go. All right. Couple of headlines, and that is since we spoke, Dan Quinn is now the head football coach of your Washington Commanders. Um, and pretty interesting little piece, and that is that Jason Light has said that they're working on a contract for our guy Brady, Baker Mayfield. Baker, of course, who had some fun at the Pro Bowl on Thursday night and won that competition. And anyway, Jason is saying, he's the GM of the Bucks, that Brady, why did I just say Baker Mayfield? Baker is going to have a definite say in who they hire as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, that'll be good for him. That's all he really needs. A little bit of consistency in his life. I did see somewhere that the contract they're thinking about giving him is going to be around 40 million a year. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting. Obviously, there's other questions too with Mike Evans as a free agent, and I believe Rashad White as well. So obviously, they got some other players to look at, but yeah, Baker Mayfield's probably the one they're trying to lock down right now.
Yeah, I think that you can lose one of those two wide receivers. Uh, they drafted really well in the wide receiver position, so they could get away with losing one of the two of them. I'm not saying they want to lose any of them, but they could get away with it. And I do think that that the concept of bringing Baker in and allowing him to work with the general manager shows two things. One, shows that they value his judgment, for bringing somebody in to be the guy, and also it gives him the feeling of saying, okay, well, there's I don't have to go looking someplace else. I can get what I want here, and maybe, just maybe, okay, maybe somebody else offers me more, but what's the fit out there?
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll see how that works. Speaking of trades, for those of you who thought or were considering that LeBron James was going to move somewhere. He's not. Yesterday, his agent came out and said 100% he's with the Lakers, at least through this contract that he has now, which has 2 more years on it, which he'll be in his 40s by that time. So we'll see. We'll see where they go with that. I know that LeBron was hoping that he could possibly end up playing on the same team, at the Lakers, the same Lakers team with his son Bronny. But having seen Bronny play thus far at UCLA, I mean, sorry, USC, it's thank goodness he was able to come back from that heart issue. But at the end of the day, that kid has a lot of work to go to make it to the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a blessing in disguise for LeBron because he's definitely going to be there when whatever team he's on wants to draft. He'll. It's not like he's going to be a hot commodity in the draft, that's for sure. But yeah, USC has definitely been a bit of a mess this year. But we'll see. As you said, a lot of work, but it can be done. We'll have to see how his college years progress on the team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some fantastic players who've had absolutely, horrible first years. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that Bronny's future isn't in the NBA. But he's not one of John Calipari's one and done guys at Kentucky. He's definitely going to have to take that time and put in those hours and work on it. So we'll see how that plays out. What else is going on? Belichick doesn't get a job, so he's out there. Now there's two schools of thought, and one school of thought is that no one is arguing whether or not Belichick is worthy of coaching. It's that he is a little bit in the way of he said he had no problem giving away some of the responsibilities to a general manager. Yet that's what cost him the job in Atlanta, and also from what I understand, the commander spoke to him as well, and were convinced that he wouldn't give that up. So they didn't. The conversation was a Zoom call, and they decided not even to bring him in. So
Yeah,
Bill,
clearly, what he says and what he does are two different
yeah.
things right now.
Well,
So
say what you will about Tom Brady. That's what Tom Brady said about him. And perhaps I think we're all getting to see that Tom Brady may not have been wrong in that regard.
yeah, and look, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. I said,
Yeah.
I took that report serious. I said, oh well, he wants to coach. He's willing to give that up. But as we've seen from the interview process,
Right.
he's saying one thing and he's doing something else. So, Bill, you gotta fix yourself first before someone's gonna hire you. Come on.
Right. I have a friend of mine who is out in San Diego, one of their top talk show hosts out there. I will not say his name because I don't want to get him in trouble. Said that the meeting that the Spanos family met with Belichick, and he goes, he's had dinners with the with the Spanos family that has lasted longer than the interview did. So evidently, that was he said that it was really Jimmy Harbaugh that they wanted, and they really were. He goes. He said that Belichick could have coached for free, and they wouldn't have taken him over Harbaugh.
Yeah.
So the only one team that Belichick had an opportunity with was the Falcons, and there's no question they tried every way which to make it work, but at the end of the day, that they knew that there was going to be angst there, and they didn't need it, and so they proved that by hiring Raheem, Raheem Morris, who is a very low key but Antonio Pierce kind of guy, and so we got a D coordinator there, head coach. We got a D coordinator in Washington, and Dan Quinn is head coach. Now both of those guys have to go find themselves an offensive coordinator to help them get through their problems.
Yeah, well, speaking of Antonio Pierce and offensive coordinators, I just wanted to, give my condolences to the Las Vegas Raiders who just hired Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive
Oh, they
coordinator.
did?
So, yeah, so I
I
just
missed
I
that one.
wanted to give my condolences. Yeah, that happened late last night, I believe, and I just want to give my condolences for that because I've seen Cliff Kingsbury in the NFL firsthand. No, I know a little something about the way he runs an offense. So they look great in the first half of the season. But boy,
Well, he
did
was
they
great.
fall off in the second half.
He was a good guy in college, but sometimes that doesn't work.
But if
Uh,
it's funny, if you actually look at if this was something because I had him under a microscope when he was in
mhm.
Arizona. This is something it's been a big issue for him. Now maybe it won't be as much of an issue because he's not the head coach now, but this was a big issue even when he was back at Texas Tech. He was having the same issues in the sense where when he was with the Cardinals, they got off to that 10-1 start, and then
Yes.
they lost to like the Carolina Panthers, and then they did nothing in the second half. They did terrible.
Mhm.
If you look back to his Texas Tech days, his days at Texas Tech went the exact same way. They would come out super strong in the first half of the season, crushing non-conference teams, and then they maybe win like the first 2 or 3 conference games, but then as soon as you get into the nitty-gritty, that's where he falls right off in the second half. And it was a very strong trend I noticed when he was at Arizona. Just the teams had a great record in first half of the season and a losing record in the second half of the season. So
Well,
just
once people get film on you, they are in trouble.
yeah, just something to keep in mind, right? Like maybe the Raiders come out strong next year, but considering the division they're in now with Harbaugh and Mahomes, and you still got Sean Payton there too. So
Right.
all I'm saying is, don't be surprised if you get off to like a 6-2 start and just like fall off.
And finish out of the playoffs. So as we get ready here for the Super Bowl, by the way, just checking, do you guys still in Canada? Do you guys still for many years you didn't get the Super Bowl commercials? Do you get them now?
I think we get them on the American channel. There is an American channel, but other than that, no, not on.
Okay. You don't get it on CBC or wherever the Super Bowl is on TV.
No, and that's the thing, right? Like they'll broadcast it on, as you say, CBC, TSN will have it on like 4 channels, and like there'll be like a, maybe CBS or we'll have it on their channel too. But it's the same broadcast. You literally I would have to watch I think the local Detroit Fox channel to actually get the American commercials, because when I do watch that channel for the Lions games on Sundays or whatever, because sometimes they show other games as well, I usually get a lot of the Michigan local commercials on that specific channel.
Yeah, so that's the station at Channel 2, I think, in Detroit is the station. Yeah, it's it's the reason I say it is there was an ad that started running today, and it's in the background. You can hear David Beckham's voice, and you see Victoria Beckham sitting on a couch, right? And David Beckham is trying to direct her to do a spot touting their spot. And she goes, okay, we're going to be doing a commercial for the Super Baseball Bowl in Las Vegas. And David, you can hear from the background going, no, it's not baseball. It's not baseball. And she goes, oh, what is it? And he goes, I don't know. I think it's hockey. And they go, oh, okay, the Super Hockey Bowl. and I mean, they're just flubbing their way through this thing, yelling back and forth at each other. And by this time, he goes, oh, wait a minute, you got 3 seconds. She goes, watch it. So I don't know what they're going to do. And I don't even know what they're going to promote. For all I know, they're going to do an MLS commercial. But it's I thought it was really clever to have these 2, superstars, trying to film their own commercial and not getting any of it right.
Well, an MLS commercial would make the most sense to me, just because I believe the season actually starts on February 13th. So
Yeah, it starts the week, literally the week the Super Bowl finishes.
yeah, like a few days later, bam, right to the
Right.
MLS. So yeah, I mean that would make the most sense to me, obviously,
Yeah.
because Messi's doing a Super Bowl commercial, and you kind of own the team that Messi plays for, so
Right.
definitely would make sense. But yeah, I mean, if I don't get the commercials or because sometimes we don't get all of them. I
Right.
will be looking into it afterwards for sure
Mhm.
because I do have some family members that really enjoy the American Super Bowl commercials because obviously Canada tries to do them, but they're never as good. It can try,
Well,
but
they're
it's
not.
not the
They're
same.
the Canadian companies aren't spending $4 million a spot either.
That's the thing, right? Like they try to like appease the Canadians, like, oh no, we have our own, but it's just come on, it's knockoff. Let's be for real here.
Right.
You
Right.
gotta look up like 2024 Super Bowl commercials, and I always wait till after the game because I know
Yeah.
they drop them sometimes before, or you get like the little sneak peeks, but sometimes there's weird ones that come out, right? And you're like, oh, I didn't hear about that one, so it's better that once they've all aired, then you can just get the compilation video or whatever, where it's just
Yeah.
showing you all the
That's
commercials.
definitely the best way to go. Um, let's talk a little bit about Super Bowl week. Now, the teams will Monday. They will come in and their planes will land in Las Vegas, and they'll go to their hotels. And then on Tuesday, they will begin the process of media, and then there's media day. And media day is possibly one of the most uncomfortable and miserable days of the year because you have people who come from all over the country and all over the world for that matter to talk about the game, but they are there many times. They're influencers, right? And people who know nothing about what about the about football, let alone the Super Bowl. And so you'll get the Entertainment Tonight people. You'll get people who are involved in a number of different things that have zero to do with about football. So you're gonna get a lot of people who will go. There's the top, say, 10 or 15 guys have their own booth at the stadium. The rest of them are kind of out there to in the stadium, in the stands, where you can walk over and talk to them, and most of them are happy to have you speak to them. Many of them don't even get spoken to. So it is what it is. It's a bit of a scrum and a bit of a mess, and it is one of the things that uh, isn't a lot of fun, but it is a tradition. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the teams are. One team will have Allegiant Stadium. Well, not, they'll have the practice facility for the Raiders, and the other team will have the University of Nevada, Las Vegas's practice facility, and that's where they will practice, and that's what they will do. Now, the interesting thing is most of the time when you go to a Super Bowl, right? You go to a city and you really kind of take a couple of days to scout out, beforehand, what are some of the cool places to put a you're set for the time, and really try to do it up. And I'm talking now about ESPN and NFL Network, who will be there all week doing stuff. And then there's CBS, who's doing the game, and so they'll probably have their own CBS HQ people out there. NBC will probably have somebody in out there. Fox probably has no interest in doing it because they're not doing the games, so they're not going to be out there. But the point is trying to find locations. When you're going to Las Vegas, it's kind of, I would think, it's kind of different because you're almost eliminating. You're saying, there's so many places I could go. Where is it I could go that is a little bit unique? Because everything in Vegas is over the top to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of these players, they've been to Vegas, obviously, and they do the rounds. So
Hmm.
it's probably a lot of casino stuff too. I would think, right? Just because of that particular atmosphere. Normally, if it was in let's say Arizona or something, yeah, obviously there are casinos, but it's not the way Las Vegas is. So I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if people just see some of these players out at the craps table or whatever till 3 in the morning, just doing their thing. I know the college students love to do it when you see these tournaments in college basketball and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So I'm sure the CBS executives will be doing the same thing. The players, the executives. So yeah, right. That's the thing. Everyone knows Vegas is all casinos and party
Mhm.
town. But as you said, yeah, sometimes the challenge is finding a unique place that maybe you haven't tried before or have some intrigue of some sort.
Well, funny you should mention that, the gaming. Uh, Roger Goodell reminded the Chiefs and the 49ers that it is forbidden to wager on on the game itself. So he wanted to make certain that they remembered what they were going out there to do, and it's kind of hard when you're in a place that has a lot of things to do to keep um, to keep the teams under wraps, because they're human beings. They'll want to go out and they'll want to enjoy the city, and as you say, there's a lot to enjoy in Vegas. So, and I'm pretty sure not many of them are going to be lining up to get to the Adele concert.
Well, I hope that rule is just for the Super Bowl because obviously the players know already they can't bet on the games, and it's totally
Right.
understandable that they shouldn't be betting on the Super Bowl. But you know what, Goodell, don't tell me, all right, I can't go into the casino and play some blackjack or whatever till 2 in the morning. If that's what the players want to spend their time doing, then I say let them.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's I'm sure that a lot of those guys will be. Let's put it this way: there'll be a lot more guys who will partake of that than will be part of the Bible study programs that will be going on at the same time. Which is not to besmirch their religion. It's just that when in Rome, as the old saying goes. So yeah, it's a tough. A lot of radio stations used to do what they call Radio Row, which they're like a convention center normally, some place like that, a centrally located place where there might be 20, 30 radio stations from around the country who are covering the Super Bowl, and then there would be stars who would be paid by different companies to come and walk down Radio Row and do interviews promoting their companies. And since the cost of doing Radio Row is so has become so expensive, um, fewer and fewer radio stations from around the country are being able to do it. So it's one of those things where they may send one or two guys to Vegas to cover the game and to cover the week, but it's going to be more and more difficult from that standpoint. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts, there's the commissioner's party, there's the league party, there's tons of parties that are given by sponsors, by so many different companies that are there, and that doesn't count the number of parties given by guys like Puff Daddy and others who enjoy just giving parties.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought they were still doing the Radio Row thing, but
Well, they
that's
are. There's just not as many radio stations.
yeah, I can see that. I guess, especially with you mentioned on another show how this is going to be the most expensive Super Bowl that they've ever had, really between all the ticket prices and everything else that's going on. So totally makes sense. It wouldn't shock me if 5 years from now they stopped doing the Radio Row altogether.
Well, let me give you a clue. We did Radio Row. I was consulting with Sporting News. And Sporting News, it was Sporting News Radio. And it's just, Sporting News Radio was part of the publication Sporting News. And this was in Glendale, which I guess was the year before the Actually, that was the last time the 49ers played the Chiefs. Was out in Arizona. It cost us to do Radio Row $50,000. That that's that's just a number that is you're not going to make that back.
Yeah, definitely not gonna make that back. So I can see, I can definitely
And it
see.
hasn't gotten cheaper every year from there was the COVID year in Tampa, and I know that there was seven people on Radio Row during the COVID year in Tampa, and then it went to LA and throughout. So it really does make it difficult, and from the expense standpoint to do it, which is why then you see networks like ESPN, Fox, and others who have they have a network, so they do it for and they use their clips to get things done for some of the local stations. That doesn't count, by the way, the amount of TV people that will be involved with the broadcasting, just the game itself. The other day, I was talking to some of the people from CBS, and they were telling me that they'll have between 250 and 350 people working game day alone.
Yeah, definitely staffing up for this one. That's for sure.
Yep. The one of the evidently there's 3 airports that are around Las Vegas. There's one, the one main airport, and then 2 of the private plane type, airports. And right now they're having trouble, literally having trouble coming up with enough spaces for the Lear jets that are coming in. The private jets that are coming in, they literally don't have enough space for them right now.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, think that is just mind-boggling. Some of them said that they may have to open other places. There's some smaller airports, and now they're working with the FAA to try to get something done there. So what about Super Bowl week for you, for a handicapper? What happens? When do you begin the process? Obviously, you begin the process when the 2 games are over. But give us a rundown of how you play, things up during Super Bowl, because there's also props and all that other stuff, and so many things that pop up don't actually come out the day after, like the line that we've talked about after the championships games.
Yeah, so usually, obviously, you have the 2-week break before the Super Bowl. So I usually take this first week just to focus on the game itself, and the 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 main wager I'm going to be placing, whether it be on the total or the side. And by now, I've made my decision on what side I'm going to be on. So that usually, and it's you really, I'd like to take the full week. I don't just handicap it in a day. I like to let the dust settle, in a sense where there's a lot of outside noise you got to focus on, because you got to remember it's one game, all eyes are on it, all the money's on it. Everybody knows all the information about the game out there it's out there, and it's available for everybody, most people, and it's all the same information. So then you'll start. It's really important to drown out the noise, because you'll start to see some of these stats. Like this one I saw floating around about how the team wearing the white jersey has won 16 of the last 19 Super Bowls. It's like, okay, yes, that's a very strong stat, 16-3. But you can go through and you can find, that's obviously was a stat someone's using to, support the 49ers. But you can go through and you can find the same stats for both sides. I also found one on Kansas City where, Kansas City hasn't allowed more than 28 points in a single game this season, I believe. And the last 5 times that's happened in the last 20 years, those teams won the Super Bowl every time. So it's really important. You gotta drown out the noise. And by now, I've made my decision. I'll probably have my play posted on the weekend sometime, or maybe even by Monday. But yeah,
Mhm.
so I usually take the first week to just focus on the game, and then once the Pro Bowl is done, even though I don't really focus on the Pro Bowl,
Right.
once that's over, next week is when I'll be looking at the fun Super Bowl props, whether it's
Right.
just player props for the actual game, or the fun ones like the halftime show and the color of the Gatorade. But
Right.
again, I don't place those. I usually wait. Now it can depend. Maybe I want to grab a line because I think it's going to move a certain way. But
Right.
I'll usually wait till closer to the Super Bowl. For
Mhm.
example, the other day, we mentioned about I was leaning towards the over in the national anthem, and you gave me a good tip on how country artists tend to actually make it go quicker, and it goes
Mhm.
uh, and it tends to go under. Well, that total was 86 and a half, and the other day, now this was in Canada. I don't know if the line moved in the states as well. But I saw because they've been making a big deal with Canadian books how they're offering the Taylor Swift proposal thing by Kelsey on the field after. I guess that's not
Right.
something that American books are offering. So it's I don't know if this happened with American books as well, but in Canada the total for the national anthem went up 86 and a half to 90 seconds now. So now it's a flat 1 minute 30 seconds. And that, made me wonder why such a large 4 second move there, especially when you're telling me they tend to go under.
Well,
So that's something where
yeah.
you had even got me thinking maybe I take the under and the line moved in my favor. So that's just a reason why I wait.
Yeah. It takes. I'm interested in the 86 seconds, right? Because if you just sang it, okay, if you were, just a citizen in the United States and sang the anthem, it's right around 90 seconds. And I'm obviously not, by any stretch of any imagination, a professional singer. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
when you sing a national anthem, right, you tend to speed things up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Until you get to that last note, right? Then
Right.
you really
Yeah,
want
sure.
then you really want that last note
Well,
to
that's the
drag.
last line. If you've ever done, you may not know any other words to the national anthem, but you do, just like you said, you stick the landing, right? You always take that last line because that's the one everybody's going to hear.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, right, if maybe that had something to do with maybe someone heard her rehearsing and dragging out that last note,
Right.
and they're like, oh, we're gonna need another 4 seconds on this total here because 4 seconds is a large move for
Yeah.
sure. And yeah, as you say, the average citizen take 90 seconds to sing it, and you would sing it a bit faster. Normally, the line is around
Hmm.
80 to 85 seconds. So yeah, the fact that it's moved up to 90 is very interesting in my eyes, but it's a lot to chew on there.
Yeah. But it also, Allegiant Stadium, they don't have, that's not a retractable roof, right? That's a fixed dome stadium, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't think I've seen them. I think they can. I don't think the reason I say that is that the way that they've done it with the national anthem is at the last line. They timed it, so that's when the flyover goes at the same time. So that might be where your 4 seconds is, right?
Ah,
You don't want the national anthem to end before the flyover comes, or you don't want to fly over during the national anthem and drown out the sound.
yeah, that makes sense. And that's
So
that's
that might be your 4 seconds.
that's what tends to happen too. Because I remember, it happens sometimes with the halftime show too, because you can bet on what the first song is going to be.
Right.
And obviously, there are people that hear the rehearsals, so that tends to change the odds sometimes. But I know they don't always reveal the full set as well when they do the rehearsal, or they might do it in a different order. So there's always a lot to analyze. We're definitely going to talk more about those kind of props next week. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's that next week as we get closer. That's the week I look at those. I did see the bets are already strolling in on the coin flip, so that'll be interesting. That's one I always like to do for fun. So might be
Yeah.
looking at the Gatorade color this year though. That's
Okay.
always a
That's a
fun
good
one.
one.
I believe I don't know what the favorite was. I thought I saw
I
like,
think it's red and pink, right?
yeah, it's like pinkish or something like that.
Yeah.
Red pink was the favorite at the moment. So you know, real original red's the color of both teams pretty much.
Right.
But there's
Okay. And
usually
they don't have
something
white Gatorade.
like last year it was clear, I believe, when the
Yeah.
Chiefs won it. It was clear, and again, like there's other things to look at. Like that might have had something to do with, Andy Reid was the one getting. They knew they're obviously dumping it on
Right.
Andy Reid, and Andy Reid has some health problems, so that might have been
It,
like a lower sugar Gatorade or something like that. Because
yeah.
clear is a very weird color, but those might be things to to look at. Obviously, you have to take into account what team is going to win, and if you think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl and you're going to bet the Gatorade color accordingly, clear is going to be in there. And I would look at more so at maybe the G2 or the G0 colors. You know what I mean? The ones that
Right.
are going to be less in sugar, because that's clearly something they took into account for Reed, because
Right.
drenched in this doesn't want too much sugar intake or anything. But I don't know his
Yeah. They don't
obviously
want him
his,
to
his
be rushed
exact
to the
health
hospital for.
problems, right?
Yeah. They don't want him to. They don't want him to have go into insulin shock the moment after they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but these are things you do have to consider for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Absolutely, because I remember it was very weird last year that it was a clear, and
Yeah.
that was really the only conclusion I could come to, was like
Well, you know,
lowered sugar one
of
probably.
this, I've attended 4 Super Bowls and I've worked 16. And of the 16 I worked, 5 of the 16 I was involved in doing the halftime show. And I will tell you 100% that the song list, the playlist, is never the playlist that ends up being the final playlist. Sometimes it might be shorter. Sometimes it might be longer. Sometimes the song you started with is not the song you start with at the game. And there's really not a lot of places you can practice that.
Yeah, there's definitely just Usher in his hotel room singing the exact order to himself is really the
Well,
only place he could be doing that.
well, let's say there's obviously some choreography that goes with it, right? And
Yeah.
that choreography is the people on the field choreography, right? Well, that's done without the artist. That is done. We're talking about practice-wise, right? That's done with the artist. The song that the artist would be doing is playing so that they get the moves down, and the timing down. But obviously, the artist is not the only time the artist is there for anything is for a sound check, and that's usually sometime approximately, I don't know, if you're on the West Coast, even if you're on the East Coast, but it's somewhere in the morning between 10 and noon before anybody's in the building, and they'll come out, they'll do a quick sound check just to get an idea of what the sound is like in the stadium, and then they're gone, and they won't come back until it's time to perform.
Yeah, so there you go. You get some audibles in the playlist every
Yeah,
year. That makes it difficult for the dancers. So are you saying basically, they learn the dance to the song, but then they have to react live while it's performed?
right.
That like this is the song. Okay, we got to get in this formation or whatever.
If Prince does, if they listen to Prince Purple Rain recording, and Prince does Purple Rain live, Prince's Purple Rain live is not Prince's Purple Rain the recording. So yeah, they have to adapt.
Okay, that's
But these are usually
professional.
professional. These are usually professional. they may not be all professional dancers, but they are professional. And again, by use of camera angles and such, you can get away from people who aren't doing it properly anyway.
Yeah.
The focus is really on the people, obviously on the stage.
Yeah.
But that does make the halftime longer. And by how much, I assume that'll be a bet as too. You really don't know. You're supposed to do it in half an hour. And sometimes that comes up short, 28 minutes. Sometimes it comes up long, 31, 32. I don't think it's ever gone more than 4 or 5 minutes over. But so you've got that, that thing too. And that again, from a player standpoint, you're used to having a 12-minute halftime. You got 15 minutes. Technically, you have 15 minutes, but it's 12 minutes because you rush off the field and you rush back on the field and you're ready to go in 15 minutes. You double that whenever you have a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that's why we get 27-3 comebacks.
Right.
And then it doesn't help when the lights go off in the stadium too. Then you're really sitting there tightening up. So I can definitely see. I actually don't know if the length of the halftime show is something you can bet on. You've got me curious now. I'll have to
on the what?
My other book for that. The length of the halftime show.
Oh yeah, it usually is there.
Yeah, okay. That's actually one that I've never really bothered to look at that one. It's always been if I'm going to bet on the halftime show, it's usually the first song. But that might be something to look at too. The length of the halftime show. I'll have to take a look at that next week as well.
The league and the artists try desperately to make it where the league's saying, look, 30 minutes is where we'd like you to go with this. Is that something you can do? And obviously, these guys and women who perform are professionals, and they have sets, and sets go, X amount of minutes. So whatever it is they need to do, they do it. I'll tell you what, I was very impressed. I forget which Super Bowl it was. They had a couple Super Bowls where I think Prince was one of it, where it rained like hell during the halftime. He is literally, out there with an electric guitar, standing in puddles of water and doing it. And then same thing with Bruce Springsteen.
Wow, that's definitely impressive. A little bit of a safety hazard for sure. Probably part of the reason why they only look at domed stadiums now for the Super Bowl.
Some of them,
yeah. I do remember. I think SoFi has been taken out of the rotation now too for the Super Bowl. Was it last year they had the Super Bowl?
No, they had it. Tampa had it, and then they had it. Tampa's an open air. SoFi's got a real weird thing. It's not technically it's not open air because it's got kind of like a structure that's built over it.
Yeah, and it's got a separate roof, is what it has.
Right. So it's really kind of funky the way it's laid out.
Yeah, and it's not considered a dome because when it rains sideways, there's still that.
Well, the fans are going to get soaked.
The wall, yeah. There's that gap between the wall and
the players are okay. It's the fans that are going to get crushed on that. But yeah, it's going to be. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff to talk about next week, and so we will go forward and have some fun. So, okay, anything? Let's give people an opportunity to check out all the fun stuff you're going to be offering them throughout the weekend. And by the way, don't forget, folks, if you check out Amedeus today, that doesn't mean he's not there tomorrow and Sunday as well. So be sure to check.
Yeah, exactly. Every day I have plays up that you can buy. You can check out my premium plays at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. Coming off a 2-1 day, I just had the 3 college basketball games, so another winning day. I'm 8-3 now the last 2 days, so heating up now going into the weekend. And make sure you check out my premium picks for tonight. I just have the 2 college basketball and 1 NBA tonight. It's not a big card for NBA or college basketball. No South Florida tonight, unfortunately, Jim.
But, have to wait till tomorrow for that one.
Yeah, but make sure you go check out my picks. We're starting to heat up, getting into the weekend.
All right, cool. All right, folks. We will see you on Monday. As Amedeus said, we're going to have an opportunity to start propping our way through and really start to break down the game for you. We've got plenty of good information, which we will partake in when we get together next week. So everybody have a safe and enjoyable week. And Amadeus and I will be back around 2 o'clock on Monday. Be well, everybody.